Hello and very warm welcome to season one of RGM Roundtable. I am Saurabh Singh, Director and Industry Head for CPG at Polestar Solutions, and I'm truly excited to host this session. As you all know, RGM has always been a key for CPGs, but with AI, analytics, generative AI, it's moving from strategy to real execution. Today is all about that shift, and we're going to discuss that in detail in the next few minutes. We've got an amazing panel from Pepsico, Diageo, and Kellanova sharing what they are and how they are rethinking RGM, what's working, what's evolving, what's changing, and what's next. With this, let me introduce the panel to you. I'm starting with Lorena, and Lorena is from Diageo. Lorena is a passionate evangelist for the power of data and someone who truly believes in transforming data into impact. With over a decade in tech space, she has built a robust reputation for leading global teams and delivering end-to-end analytic solutions that drive top-line growth and enhance personalized consumer experiences. She's also a strong advocate for data democratization and AI-centric innovation. We are excited to have her with us today. Thank you, Lorena. Moving on
Thank you,
to
Sarah.
Marcel. Yes. Marcel is from PepsiCo with an incredible 25 years in commercial leadership across Latin America. He has spent last 15 years at the heart of shaping RGM. At PepsiCo, she's leading RGM transformation across both food and beverages, working hand in hand with business and technical teams to design scalable systems that drive sustainable growth. From price spec architecture to trade optimization, and now with AI and machine learning in the mix, Marcel is truly driving RGM into the future. We are honored to have her here today. Thank you, Marcel, for being in the session.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Last but not the least, we have Sara from Kellanova, a bold creative thinker and true insights champion with deep experience on both the supplier and client side. Sara is all about embedding research and analytics into real business action. She has played a big role in applying occasion-led RGM strategies in the portable, wholesome snacks category, and she brings a strong focus on ensuring data integrity. Her collaborative style and strategic mindset make her a go-to leader for integrated analytics. Welcome, Sara. So glad to have you with us. With this, we would straight away deep dive into the session itself. And for the audience, for the people who are new to RGM, RGM terms and domains. Question to you, Sara. How will you explain RGM in simple terms, especially to people, as I said, who are new to this concept?
Yeah, absolutely. It's a fun story because when I first entered into my first RGM role, I had to Google it because I didn't know what it was either. It's a moment of panic in my career. It's a whole other story. But to kind of put it in simple terms about what RGM is and what this function does, revenue growth management, or RGM, it's really a discipline that's used by companies to drive sustainable growth. Now, historically, RGM was more considered a pricing department. However, this discipline has really evolved for a more strategic impact in companies. And it involves pricing strategies still, promotions management, product portfolio optimizations, and channel management. So it's much broader in scope than what it has historically been. And said simply, we use pricing and pack and channel levers to grow sales and to grow profit. And so to develop these meaningful, fact-based, integrated strategies, it often really includes considerable data analytics, which I'm sure we're going to talk about today.
Awesome. Thank you, Sara. And same question for you, Marcel, as well. In your own, experience, how would you describe RGM to a layman, for example?
Yeah. Okay. Adding some additional observation to the, because yes, actually, Sarah, it's absolutely right. It's a discipline. How the companies have the right equation to protect market share, to growth, and to be more effective with the use of all the resources in the market, right? But in simple word, I can do that. It's like it's how the companies put in place the right product in the right pack size, in the right place, in the right pricing, right? How to do that? It's about how you manage, like expert all the levers of the RGM, pricing, promo, mix, volume, and all the optimization of the trend spends. But yes, it's but how you can measure all this art, because it's art, with the science, is how you combine the data and insight to really, really have the right equation. That is how RGM is. If you can management all of this like expert, is really the key of the value creation in the companies, right?
Right. Very nicely explained, Sarah and Marcel. I think whoever come from a bit of marketing background, the 4 P's of marketing, which Professor Kotler always tells about, how do you keep that right in the frame, right? This is where the RGM P's would evolve around, right? Before going into the analytics and the AI side of things, coming to you, Lorena, because I think data plays a very huge and very important role. And for a firm like Diageo, a multi-country huge brand, right? Data would be coming in for customers from multiple markets, for multiple products, SKUs which are there in some market, not there in some market, and then obviously there are nuances around Alcobev itself, right? The policies and the way the market you approach the market via different channels, right? How do you make sure that data is of utmost quality and is usable to drive RGM strategies?
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's actually a very great place to start because the data is foundational. Without data, we cannot move ahead on any further strategy. So, as you were saying, Saurabh, we had been dealing with a huge volume of information, multiple SKUs, multiple levels, which at the end make the data and the complexity to be an important part of the data foundation. So before we can even talk about AI or any advanced analytics, we are ensuring that we are consistently driving single source of truth. We are standardizing our data framework, and that is really aligning the definitions across multiple functions and ensuring that as we go through the process, everyone has the same understanding of what a number looks like. In terms of the RGM context, clean data is absolutely essential because you cannot build a pricing strategy if you're having a bad foundation. So looking forward is more about to ensure that as we go through the process, the foundation is right and you can keep building on top of that.
And extending the same question to you, Marcel, the enterprise data or the data which is residing inside a firm is easy to manage, or still you can put around some strategies to manage that data. But there's a lot of data streams which are coming in from externally, right? There is social media data. You have syndicated data coming in from Nielsen and IWSers and multiple other this thing, and then you also need to integrate the macroeconomic indicators to understand your customer demography well, right? With all this coming in, how do you make sure that this is kind of embedded into the RGM models, if I can say so?
Yeah, maybe the key is how do you define first, because not matter is internal or external data, you need to have the foundation that Lorena mentioned, right? You need to create across organization, all the governance, all the process related with data quality, storage, and have the infrastructure. Now with the third, of course, now or today we have more resources for external, right? Coming from social data or coming from another key studies or another retail information. But how you capture that information, it's absolutely amazing because you can to capture the opportunity and the early journey of the consumer. Yes, because you understand better which one is the consumer, which one is the behavior, and which one is changing in the market in the early stage, right? But the key is how you can integrate, because maybe in all the digital transformation, maybe you can listen narrative. That kind of thing is easy, but the really is not. Yes, the companies need to have a huge force try to put this information together with the quality, with the structure and the right infrastructure to really feed the algorithms and come back with inputs and real insight to improve the making decision. That is the key. So the value is true, of course. It's absolutely real to have this old data, absolutely to use, for example, cloud to code, everything enhance all the ecosystem, but require a huge aligned effort across organization to really use this data. Mm-hmm.
You're right. So I think, there are two parts to it. One is the accumulation of data, consolidation of data points from different sources. And then secondly, how to use them for specific use cases, right? I think that's where the magic would happen. And you rightly said, when you assimilate both external and internal data, that's where you are able to map your customers well. Where are they coming, or which channel they are coming in, what are they buying, what are they not buying, where they're leaving the cart open, and those kind of questions would be answered over there. Lorena, coming back to you, have you kind of looked at some kind of unexpected insights that you've got by merging both the data points, internal and external?
Yeah, for sure. And I think connecting a little bit of what Marcelle was saying, integrating these new data sources has allowed us not to see only like the what and where we are selling it, but why we are selling it. That's the big shift that we are doing. So being able to track the consumer engagement from the moment someone sees an Instagram post or looks up for a recipe, a cocktail recipe online, that's the point where you are connecting from there and then going all the way through the purchase. Either it's an online purchase, it's a store purchase, and the insights are coming faster because you can see on social media the sentiment. It's happening before the actual sale comes through, So it gives us a signal of where to target activations, where adjusting the availability. So it's going to be more about the why the consumers are getting the product, and then how we can react faster, smarter, and be more precise on that portion. So the combination is not replacing our traditional retail data, but is complementing it.
Yeah, and we also did a similar thing in India some time back. We wanted to understand the demography of a certain area, and it's valid for anywhere in the world, right? And we were not able to get good data points for those pin codes or zip codes, right? So what we did was we started looking at the data from the transport department, that what kind of cars are over there in those zip codes. More hatchbacks are there, more SUVs are there, or more luxury cars are there, and that's how we tried to find out the demography of that area, right? I think so external data plays a huge role and helps us uncover many insights which might not be uncovered or which were not possible through the internal data only. Sara, with that, coming over to you, building on that foundation, which Lorena and Marcelle has talked about, data points and so on and so forth. Since you work in categories where price elasticity can vary significantly with brands and markets, the combination of both, right? How do you standardize or rationalize promotion effectiveness across your portfolio?
Sure. So I think, if we're talking about how do we understand price elasticity, the root of that question is about how does my volume change when my price changes? But to think about it in terms of promotion, you really have to think about what was expected from the promotion when you're benchmarking. Did it perform well? Was it a good promotion is kind of the high level, question that you get asked. Well, what did we want the promotion to deliver? What was the role of it? What was its purpose? And I think in order to answer that question, there are probably two components that we look at. And the first would be having the strong analytics. So really understanding what is the promotional model that we're using? What are the assumptions and inputs in there? And oftentimes what I find is even with whatever model you're working within, right, you have to understand what the facts mean, how they're derived, kind of how that model works and functions, and what are the limits of that data set, what it can and cannot tell you. And then the second piece I would say, and I always advocate for this, is having a really foundational understanding of the retail environment and the shopper and the consumer.
Yeah.
Because if you enter into the stores and look at the environment that a promotion might be operating in, what are the tags? What does the display look like? What does the shelf set look like? Who do you interact with in that environment? It really helps put the two pieces together of, did we make a big investment? Did we run a promotion with a deep discount? And did we expect to get big volume? And then did we execute it well among the competitive set and the retail environment in order to deliver that result? And you kind of have to have both things in place to be able to say, yep, we expected big things from it. Yes, we got it. Or, you know what,
Right.
this was just sort of like keeping the lights on promotion, and it did exactly what we needed it to do. It wasn't intended to be a big fat promotion, and that's okay too. It delivered a lot of trade efficiency for us.
Right. Since you touched upon the analytics, Sara, question to you is that, you in last 1 year or so, generative AI and now the agentic AI, they are coming in, and they are transforming the entire way of doing the business. They are transforming the entire process itself, right? Have you seen any changes in last 1 year in how you run RGM?
Yeah, so we have been experimenting, I would say, with how do we do this and how do we incorporate AI more thoughtfully into, our analytics and use it to get broader adoption of some of our tools. And we've really been playing around with this in terms of our promotion analysis. And, I would say we took on a pilot project with the intent of learning about what is needed in order to develop a custom tool. And I'm really grateful for that the objective was to learn and implement AI and kind of grow and develop in the space. Because a lot of the things that we learned were limitations of our databases, connectivity between our data sets, simple things like how we labeled our data.
Yes.
There's a lot of, nomenclature within an organization, acronyms, you label very different facts, very similar things, and developing an LLM that would be needed to run the agent was really where we had to put a lot of emphasis in order to get a working prototype that could actually, you could ask it a question and it would deliver a coherent answer.
Yes.
So, in terms of developing the skill set and the knowledge base within the organization, I think the project was great, but it is also very eye-opening to us about what is the kind of maturity of the tools and also the adoption curve of the people in the organization to use them.
Yeah, I think with these new tools coming in, the adoption as well as democratization, the true democratization of AI and ML would take place. Marcelle, coming over to you. I mean, are you also experimenting in this area, specifically related to your RGM processes?
Okay, good. Thank you so much, Sara, for your example, because exactly confirm my position around use the advanced analytics, machine learning, and AI. Not exist a shortcut, right, to do that. That is the first thing I want to say, right? That is the reason why, from my experience, I make a lot of pressure to the company to understand you need to create a foundation, and on top of that, experiment with the new technologies, right? Because if not, maybe you have all the challenge Sara described, right? So in the case of PepsiCo, for example, we create very strong foundation. To create the enterprise data foundation is a huge story, right structure with the right variables, with the new data, everything together to create a holistic solution to enable 8 levers of RGM, talking about pricing, pack and price, trade promotion optimization, to enable the process to trade promotion optimization, and for optimized mix and assortment, right? So many of the tasks forced to the company was create insulate solution. Now, all this for on top on that base or foundation is created that holistic solution, right? Using machine learning, advanced analytics, and some optimizer. Yeah, that is the second stage. We are there, right? So how we enable the rest of the ecosystem, that is the key, because it's not only to have the technology, right? You need to prepare the organization to for the adoption, right? So actually, that is the reason why I put resources to evolving and upskilling my people, right? Because now the RGM's teams need another skills. Is maybe they need to understand, of course, the analytical part and the technical part, but it's more now how interpret it and read very fast all the outputs of that model, right? So to close here, in my opinion, yes, of course, all this solution, because maybe on top of that foundation, we can to continuous experiment with the AI agent, but you need to prepare the foundation to be successful. Maybe it's the long road you can follow, but in my opinion, it's confident to do that. Because if not, you create an isolated pilot, but not integrate the new technology across process, across organization, and not prepare the organization to really adopt the new technology.
Right. Very rightly said, Marcel. I think the vision or the objective should be clearer, and then you can work backward into creating smaller wins and then integrate it all together to achieve that vision, right? And I've heard about your RGM Academy. I think that's a great initiative in terms of the bringing up the change management from that perspective. So that is very nicely done. Lorena, coming over to you, the similar question, slightly different, that would like to understand where are you on your agentic AI journey, and if you have already gotten onto it, then what are the lessons and learned from there, or any challenges you face, any wins over there?
Yeah, I think we're right now in very early stages of agentic AI. We're kind of on the hype of the journey, but it's more about, as Marcel was saying, training the people and even taking advantage of this hype on AI, right? Everyone wants to have AI right now in their companies and wants to take advantage of what the systems and technology can do. So we've been going through the journey, even starting with traditional AI, just very basic, going back to like forecasting and just starting with the very basics, because that's even a game changer. And how we are evolving and the lessons that we have encountered so far is more about the importance of the human plus machine. So the tools are very powerful overall, and we know that, but they are as good as the context you give them. And even you can tell about it. Like everyone right now uses ChatGPT, right, for whatever type of personal reasons, or looking up for a recipe, looking up for tell me what is the latest on X topic. So it depends on how much information you give, and that's the answer, or as good as you can get, right? So we've learned how to treat AI more like an advisor rather than a decision maker, and I think that's how it's going to keep evolving. And with the agents as well, you're going to create its own little agents, and they're going to start taking decisions. How good or bad, and where do you need to put that human intervention? It's going to be the key.
No, I definitely agree. And, this brings us to a very important point. So, yes, AI is taking over, but somebody needs to still, look over who will guard the guards, as it is. I think it's a Latin American idiom, or, saying, who guard the guard. So, who will guard the AI, or whoever is taking the decisions on our behalf. And that's where the machine and the man have to come together and actually do the entire action points which needs to be taken over there. Question to all three of you now, that agentic AI is coming in. How do we put in the guardrails around it? How do you think we can set boundaries around it, or should we set boundaries around it to help us take decisions?
I guess I'll start because I would say, in terms of the guardrails, I don't think, in that kind of maturity model of where we are with adopting the technology, I think we've laid out, this is what the foundation is needed. Here's what kind of crawling into AI looks like. Here's walking and here's running. So it's great that we have the destination of where we want to go, but I would say that never in that destination is the idea that the value that RGM practitioners bring becomes obsolete. So, the tools are a support for it. It is never kind of a replacement for good critical thinking and strategy. Still very much, in the camp that humans are best suited to do that work. And then the other guardrail I would say we have is, and this is probably a new relationship, is an even more intense closeness with IT, and just kind of leaning on the expertise within the IT portion of the organization for, what are the appropriate technologies that we're investing in as a company? How do we leverage those? And then from a readiness standpoint, what is a realistic timeline for us to adopt additional capabilities from an RGM standpoint?
Yeah.
Mhm. Actually, in my opinion, that is a very critical question. Why? Because maybe we are not prepared for all that revolution of the technology, right? Like a company. That is the first thing. So in the case of PepsiCo, it actually, that is the reason why I say, if you really can make a real transformation inside a company, that could be a pilot or isolate a force. You need to align the company. It may be IT or sales strategy, in my case, could be the best friends and that's journey, right? Why? Because maybe you need to be sure your vision is absolutely aligned, like RGM is absolutely aligned, and that's evolution with the vision of the company. And you need to respect that. You need to be very sure that resource that company has is aligned with your vision and the evolution, and or how you can push it to move in the same direction, right? So, and for other side, you need to be clear which one is the current policies inside the company, because maybe if not, maybe you can have an issue if you are not aligned with that all that's work with that policy. And the other thing I want to put into the table is all the machine learnings, all the solutions needs to be absolutely aligned with the in strategic intention of the organization. Related, we come back at the beginning of the principles of the RGM is continuous growing the business, protect share of market, or grow share of market, and be more profitable, right? So all the intentions in the company is related with that. So the solution, AI solution, analytics or advanced will be absolutely aligned with that rule, right? So if you respect all of this and you taken a look the process and the human in that process, maybe you have the guardrails you need to advance with confidence through that journey, right?
Sure. Thank you, Marcel. Lorena?
Sure. Yeah. Just like complimenting, I love what Sara said about like you need to be closer to your IT teams, right? That's a reality. And also within Marcel's idea is how you tie AI within a process, right? It's more about you cannot just put AI and spit out some numbers that are not going to make a lot of sense for the organization overall. So it's more tying those two things together, and then the guardrail is mainly on understanding where AI can make decisions autonomously versus where you need to put some human intervention. So it's mapping out to a process, ensuring that as you go through it, you get your company or people involved, and then you are a partner and you keep building that relationship and the trust at the end, because sometimes you will question how good is AI, how good is this result? And the question comes mainly because I've been doing this job for so long. I know what I'm doing. How is a machine going to replace what I'm doing and all my knowledge that I've gathered on my last 10 years? So it's a little bit of like that pragmatic approach and trying to bring everyone along the journey and then getting that confidence and then setting the touch points where required.
No, rightly said. I think explainability of the AI solutions have to be there. It's very critical for somebody to take a decision, be it an AI agent, or be a real person who's going to take a decision. I think explainability goes in a longer way. Just for the audience, we are getting a lot of questions, and we'll take those questions at the end of the session. We have kept around some time for that. So please don't think that your questions are not going to get answered. We'll finish this and we'll get back to the Q&A part. All right. I'm loving this conversation so far. Thank you so much for all of you. Sara, I'm coming to you because it's you all are working in a multifunctional team. But question for you, Sara, that what's the biggest friction point between teams you might have seen while executing the RGM strategies? Because there'll be sales involved, there'll be marketing, finance. All these teams would come in with their own objectives. And how do you overcome it?
Yeah. So I think it's kind of very similar to Lorena, what you were saying is, I would say risk or perceived risk is always the biggest obstacle. When you're working cross-functionally, it's almost like a sport. If you feel like there's a risky decision that, you're not confident in a decision, the sport is to poke at the data. You poke at the number, you poke at the assumption, and then, you try to backtrack and it's what prevents teams from moving forward and taking action is because it feels like it's a risky decision. And I would say, when teams are working on gut feelings or emotions, or, sometimes, in corporate America, we act based on what we think someone wants to hear. And that's just being, real about what it's like to work in corporate America sometimes. But that never leads to good decisions. We all know that too, because it doesn't ever really work out. But anything that has to do with a significant decision, so like significant pricing, investment decisions, those are always feel like they're more high risk. And when RGM brings a well-founded, fact-based point of view, it helps the teams understand the trade-offs better so that they can ask the questions. And I think this is true whether you're using AI to support, the recommendations or not, or, you just have, good old fashioned, hands-on keys digging through the data in order to make it how the decision or how the recommendation was created is so important for RGM practitioners to truly understand. It goes back to the question around benchmarking. Is this good or bad? How confident are we in the number? What elasticity did you use? We all need to be able to say, well, the elasticity is X, and this makes sense because of what I understand about my products, my categories, my customers, the data set, and past experience. And by the way, if we're wrong, because, nobody's perfect in forecasting, the range of possible outcomes might look like this. And it helps to get people, I think, more comfortable with taking action if you can help them overcome the risk.
Yeah.
Right, Sara. I think there are a lot of changes happening in the market. The customer preferences are changing. The multiple channels are getting they're evolving a lot more, and also technology is growing leaps and bounds, right? Lorena, coming to you, and this question is for all of you. I'll come to you one by one, starting with Lorena. How do you see this RGM space changing in the next 3 years, for example?
Yeah, I see RGM is going to be evolving from just being a siloed function. As we were talking at the beginning, it was more about the pricing, the strategy, but it's more about how you orchestrate the end-to-end of the equation. It's more about seeing the AI agents now, which is the latest, right? To bring the social media post trends and automatically recommending a price change or a promotion, or it's more about going to from looking backward to predicting forward and being able to be agile on that journey. I think that's where RGM is going to be critical, because as we evolve, is going to be more the end-to-end on the value and how fast you can get to it.
Right. Sara?
Yeah, I agree with that completely. I would also say if I'm looking to the future, because our data analytics are becoming more complex, we're just able to factor in a lot more data points and get very granular with analysis. I think one of the skills that we're looking for is not just do you have the chops from an analytics standpoint, but how do you communicate it? So things like visual display of data and succinctly being able to capture the learning and the recommendation. Oftentimes we find that, from a talent standpoint, you're either really strong in analytics or you can explain it really well, or, you can communicate really well. And so bringing those two halves together so that we can take the complex information and talk to a sales team about, their plan and what we need to do to optimize, communicate to senior leaders about, forward-thinking pricing strategy that will, lead to growth in the future. Those types of skills, I think, RGM is still working to develop, where other functions like marketing, they're really great at communicating. They can weave you a story, but RGM maybe historically has a little bit more work to do.
Sure. And we'll be ending this discussion with you, Marcelle.
Yeah. Okay. And in my opinion, RGMs will be fundamental different, right? Why? Because in my opinion, it's not for a single breakthrough. It's more like continuous working and the creation of capabilities. Put a lot of force in the creation of all the foundation we mentioned before. And when the data, technology, and human are more connected than ever, right? In a smart way. That is for me the main challenge and transformation that we need to have. In my opinion, we continue evolving the technology, creating integrated ecosystem, right? Not isolate solution, and put together not only the solution, the functions, right? In my opinion, if RGM is the area can put all together in the table, throw the data, throw the insight, throw the hard argument to make decisions, right? For me, that is part of the transformation. And in the future, more than today, RGM has a privileged seat in the board, right? And the board, like a internal consulting, right? Because these people needs to be like a real business translator. Is how they take all the information, all the insights, all the knowledge they have through the solutions, the creation of scenarios enabled for the AI and the technology to put more intelligence in the table and to make more to make the decision process making easier, faster, agile, and assertive. For me, that is part of the big transformation. And for other side, continue with my point, you need to leverage the organization. Maybe you need to have a little change in the skills that you need in the people, more related with the Sara mentioned before. You need to communicate better. You need to influence the organization. You need to drive the change, and you need to, to push a lot of resources to change the organization, to really put in the culture like a discipline inside the organization, the growth mindset through all the RGM discipline. For me, that is amazing because yes, of course, the AI and the technology play a very fundamental role in all that transformation, but more than ever, the human being will be more important in the process to really translate all that value in business strategy. That is my vision.
Very beautifully put, Marcel. I'm visualizing 3 years from now, we'll have something like if you've seen Minority Report, there's a movie of Tom Cruise, multiple screens would be multiple agents giving us information. We'll be simply saying, yes, no, you can take this decision, you cannot take this decision, something of that sort. But yeah, very beautiful conversation that we have today. And, I thank you all of you very much on that side. There are many women leaders in the audience and aspiring women leaders in the audience. Just one question from your personal experience, and then we'll move on to the Q&A. Looking at your personal journeys across different roles, What skill did you initially undervalue that became critical as you advanced to your current levels? And also the leadership capability or quality that became essential when you, as you move higher up, which wasn't very obvious earlier in your careers, right? And we can start with you, Sara, on this, and then move on to Lorena and Marcel.
Yeah. So one of the things from a skill standpoint that I didn't realize that I needed has to do with confidence. And in talking with other women, I think this is relatively relatively common. But maybe 6-7 years ago, I had this little button, and it said, "I'm comprised of 80% confidence and 15% crippling self-doubt." And the fact that it fit on a button told me that I wasn't the only person who felt that way. And by just acknowledging that like 15% of my whole being is, puts a lot of effort and energy into doubting myself, really made me kind of question why I was doing that. So the skill that I would say that I developed was embracing that as part of who I am, because all of learning and growth and development is 100% self-paced. And as soon as you realize you're in control of the risks you take, you're in control of operating outside of your own comfort level and making a choice to accept, oh my gosh, I am really uncomfortable and this might not work, but I'm going to do it anyway, because if I don't, then I'm the person who shrinks from the challenge. Like, that's not the person that I wanted to be. And as soon as I accepted that probably everyone else has some degree of self-doubt too, it made me feel and act with a lot more confidence. And I started taking more risks, and my career development also accelerated. And I would say in terms of self-acceptance and being a leader, that's what I've tried to be for my teams, is to be a whole person, to have, be a real human, that, you bring who you are, you figure out who they are in the room, and you accept, the strengths that other people have, knowing that nobody's perfect.
Oh, yes. Yeah. And you very rightly said, not taking a step is almost always not good than taking a step forward.
It feels worse.
Yeah. Lorena.
Sure. I love your point, Sara, because I can relate with that a lot as well early in my career. But the one that I mentioned, Sara, is more about the relationship building. When I was very early in my careers, I was just very focused on my technical skills, delivering this perfectly, getting or ensuring that this was like 100% done. But you sometimes miss the point of bringing everyone along the journey, having those strong relationships. And that's what's going to take you further on your career as you keep growing, right? It's more about the people that you're bringing with you, the confidence level that they have, building a path for them to be successful as well, and making that comfort zone for everyone to perform at their best. And then as you are evolving and having more difficult conversations, those are the things that are really going to take you further. Otherwise, by yourself, you're not going to be able to get to the finish line. So I think that was one of the things that at the beginning I was like, okay, sure, I can do everything by myself. Everything is good. Go along the journey. And then as you move even further, you're going to have less management of like the people you're interacting with, the different groups that you need to kind of bring with you, because it's just like growing and growing. And at the end is how you ensure that those relationships keep being strong. And then just, that's, I think, one of the things that I really appreciate now. And it took me a while.
No, definitely. I think as you move forward, when you move on from your individual contributor role to a people manager kind of a role, when you need to work with multiple functions, taking them all together, defining a vision which is aligned with all of these guys, and you all are working in one direction, becomes very, very critical. Over to you, Marcel.
In my experience will be a little different, right? Because I am a business person. Through my career, through my experience, I need to learn a lot about the technical part, right? So how I understand in deeply way the models, the variables, and all the technical things. Of course, for me, was a huge part, a hard part to learn about all of this. But that converge all my business skills with the technical part, transform me in the business translator. Today, like a major business translator, I understand could be more than ever to continuous learning. Yes, about for example, and adding a new skills, right? And that for example, in the be a very tech plenty, for example, because yeah, in my case, I understand that what the things I like more in the work is invent the future. If I really want to continue growing in that spot, all the technology will be my best friends, right? But now in my position, when I need to put in place all these transformations, of course, my technical knowledge and business knowledge could be so important. But today, more than ever, I need to put focus in all the soft skills I need to drive the organization and the new stage, right? How your leadership, your confidence, or you bring trust to the organization, you are in the right path. Yes, it's the right way to advance to get the goals. How you bring to the team the confidence to continue working in that spot, and how you develop resilience, right? Why? Because when you are trying to invent that future, you receive a lot of no and the journey, right? And you need to be uh, auto motivated to continue working. See, although that's
Yes.
that situation. So, and how you bring all this passion, all that yes, passion to continue the transformation, although it's not a easy path. So for me, it's and today for the RGM leaders, for the real business translator, needs to have the perfect blend between technical part, tech 20, and soft skills to move and to create the real transformation in the organization.
Rightly said, Marcel. I think our audience would have learned a great deal from your experiences and the way you've described the skills needed in your respective journeys. We'll move on to the Q&A now. And first question is from Stephen Schwartz. He says, "Hi, great conversation." Thank you, Stephen. Is it best for data and tools first, or is it preferred to develop the capabilities skills first? And any of you can answer.
You can go, Marcel.
Sorry. Okay. No, based on my experience, quickly answer. Yeah, you can do everything in parallel, but it's huge. But if you prepare first the talent, the resources to do that, maybe it's easier to advance. Yeah. And in my experience, maybe you don't have time, right? Many times will be in that way. So that is the reason why you need to present the entire vision and consider the three pillars, in my opinion: process, people, and tools in the same vision. And how you show the organization which one is the journey, which one is the path, and how you are playing like a Legos, right? Advancing in stage. But you need to be sure or confident that pieces you put in the base support the next stage. That is my opinion, right? And my experience. Mhm.
Sure. Lorena, you were saying something.
Pretty much, I was gonna echo what Marcel was saying. Like, you can go in parallel. That was
Yes.
gonna be as well my answer.
Yes, they both are complementary to each other, I think, and they can go well together. Capability skills definitely are needed. It's a without it, obviously, it's a no-go. But data and tools are the enabler. They empower the capabilities and skills. They empower how you take decisions in a better manner, right? In a more insightful manner, right? Manu has asked, how is data governance from security and access perspective being managed with AI advancements? Lorena, you want to take this up?
Yeah, I can take that one. I think it's a very interesting point, right? Because if you think about it today on the real world, outside companies, anyone can upload any type of information into ChatGPT or into like external agents. And it's been very hard to control that because I think at the beginning, people didn't realize the impact or what was happening of sharing certain information or doing or putting some guardrails because they were just experimenting and saying, oh yeah, cool, this is going to give me an answer back, right? Internally within the organizations, there needs to be like some guardrails, and I think there is not yet a formula for saying, okay, this is the right security. I truly believe that there needs to be some like guardrail and put some boundaries. I don't know yet what is the right thing because it's so easy to access today that is very hard to control.
Yeah. And I think more than the access on the internal enterprise side, the data that enterprises are using today, the PI information, and there are so many laws around it. The AI needs to be trained on how to utilize that data without obviously bringing it out in the world, and getting into those difficult situation for the enterprises. So I think yes, guardrail needs to be there both from the security access perspective, from the employees, the person who are working in the enterprise, but also the consumer data that we are utilizing to generate all those insights.
Yeah, for
Right.
sure. And training a lot people and letting them know, like it's more skills, to be honest. At some point in time, it's going to be people knowing what they can and cannot do.
Yes.
I think that's going to be more where we need to bring everyone up to speed. And as to Marcel's point, like skills, training people, right? That's going to be more what's going to be a game changer in the security perspective as well.
Right. Thanks, Lorena. Next question is from Paula Rosales. She says, hello, great point. AI RGM teams requires to become internal company consulting teams to translate business needs and to be aligned to algorithm results according to the company vision. How companies can use personalized algorithms as part of RGM strategy to bring higher profits to companies and value creation to consumers? Marcel?
Yeah, it's a long question, but I need to say the most important is yes, you can develop solution, right? But need to respond to the business strategy or the business goal, right? That is the principle you need to take in account. So if you really can do it, for example, in my experience, we are taking the reality our teams live and try to solving business question, and on base on that business case, we start to develop the different solutions, right, to enable the different levers. So it's not I imagine how. No. I take the reality of the business, and on based on that, I develop a solution to be more smarter, more agile, and put velocity and the answer to answer in the right time the business question. So because maybe if not, it's part of the mistake many companies has in the journey. Maybe they buy some solution, right? I don't know, any tools, and try to put inside the organization, but they not prepare the talent, they not prepare the change, and maybe the tool is not exactly that you really needs, because depend of the particular needs every organization has. So to prepare the organization to that journey, you need to have very, very clear which one is the business needs and how you can respond in the best way through preparing the talent and preparing the organization with the right tools to answer that business question.
Right. And, if I could also add to it, since, Paula is asking about personalized algorithms, for any CPG firm, there would be two types of personas. One is the customers, wherein you would run all those trade promotions, and then there would be consumers who are actually using your product, right? So your personalized algorithms would work better for your consumers. And if you have a D2C kind of channel from where you're targeting your end consumers, definitely you can do a lot more personalized marketing. You can offer personalized products to them, depending on what kind of data you already have about them. What have they been buying from you? What amount of quantities they are buying? What are the different channels they are coming onto your website or e-commerce or wherever, right? I'm sure there are a lot many things that can be done over there to make it more and more personalized for that end consumer. And Paula, you can reach out to us for more information on that side. Time is of scarcity over here. I would take one more question, and I'll find a question. Yeah, so Molshri is asking one question, and she's saying, to Lorena's point on leadership, how do you leverage your relationships in leading adoption of new tech and building trust in the transformation? But instead of Lorena, I'll ask Sara to answer this.
Great. I think part of this is just, managing your decision makers. So you have to create a destination that is something that is really exciting to go, that feels strategic, and why you have to do it, why it's essential to your company's success, and then lay out the steps that it takes. So, I think it's fine to, make a big case, but there's also probably the one-on-one and the checkup and getting kind of the informal feedback on the destination that you're setting that's super critical. And it's, some people talk about like back channels, but it is really about, making sure that you create forums where you can get real feedback to what you're proposing, and then laying out a plan that addresses it.
No, definitely. I think that is very, very critical, Sara. I think you pointed out very rightly that, having it's not a back channel, but having understanding who's the sponsor for it, and talking to them, making them understand the business case. This is how it will help you. This is how it will increase the ROI or benefit you in some manner. Quantifying that specific benefit goes a long way.
Yeah.
Right. So we'll end it over here, and rest of the questions we will try to answer over the emails. Thank you so much for attending this session to our audience, and thank you so much, Sara, Lorena, and Marcelle, for coming over to this session and making it a huge hit. I could see people must be learning a lot from this conversation. I personally love this conversation and learned a great deal from all of your experiences. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure.
Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Have a good day and a weekend.